Everyone, today we finish up in the book of Ruth. She said, I am Ruth, your servant. Spread out your robe over your servant because you are a redeemer. He said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have acted even more faithfully than you did at first. You haven't gone after rich or poor young men. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I'll do for you everything you're asking. Indeed, my people, all who are at the gate, know that you are a woman of worth. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech, and all that belonged to Chilion and Mahlon. And also Ruth the Moabite, the wife of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to preserve the dead man's name for his inheritance, so that the name of the dead man may not be cut off from his brothers or from the gate of his hometown. Today you are witnesses. So when we hear the word Redeemer, we typically think of that in terms of the one who saves us from our sin, right? And we apply that term to Jesus. But actually, Redeemer, at least in the beginning, is really a financial term, right? And it's still used that way today. You can redeem an offer if you're buying something. So it's about buying something back. And here in the story of Ruth, this redemption is about buying a field. But in a sense, it's still about saving someone. See, we got to talk a little bit about some of the Jewish laws that are going on in this story. One of the laws is that family land is supposed to stay with the family. There's a law in Leviticus 25 that says, when one of your fellow Israelites faces financial difficulty and must sell part of the family property, the closest relative, or redeemer, will come and buy back what their fellow Israelite has sold. So presumably at some point Naomi had to sell their family land. And so now it's Boaz's job to buy it back for them. Now he'd also, along with this, have to marry Ruth in order to carry on her first husband's family name, which is another strange custom to us. And, maybe he was a bit hesitant about that before, which explains the scandalous encounter in the middle of the night. Right? It takes some pressure, but he does do the right thing in the end. He redeems her and the field, and so now she is safe. She's set up for the future. But Boaz isn't the real hero in this story. It's Ruth. Because, as he says, she's the one who most consistently shows faithful love. This is the highest Hebrew virtue of loving kindness or steadfast love or mercy. It can mean all of those things. This faithful love, in fact, is the defining characteristic of God. And so the person in this story who most fully embodies God's grace and love is a foreigner, someone poor, a woman. The opposite often of what we're trained to expect. So, will we continue to define people by what makes them different, by what some would say makes them less than? Or will we define greatness and worth by how much godly love people will show?